Welcome back to Antic Machine. On this channel, we celebrate the incredible world of machines, history, and craftsmanship, from the roaring chainsaws of modern logging to the timeless sawmills that built entire communities. Wood has always been more than just a material. It is the foundation of civilization. From the first wooden shelters and bridges to the grand ships that crossed oceans, timber has carried humanity forward. By the 19th and 20th centuries, sawmills became the beating heart of industry, turning massive logs into beams, planks, and boards that shaped homes, barns, and factories. Every revolution of a saw blade marked progress, and every plank was a step toward building a stronger society. Among the most fascinating achievements of this era were water-powered sawmills. Harnessing nothing more than the steady current of a river, these mills transformed raw nature into usable lumber with a blend of ingenuity and tradition. They remind us of a time when power came directly from the land itself, and when craftsmanship stood at the center of industry. Today, we will step back into 1968 to witness one of these historic water-powered sawmills in operation, a living monument to engineering and history. Before a single board could be cut, the log itself had to be carefully positioned on the carriage. This was no simple task. A full-grown oak or pine, felled deep in the forest, could weigh thousands of pounds. Workers used cant hooks, peaveys, and sheer muscle to roll the log into place. In some mills, simple winches or wooden ramps helped guide the timber up to the platform. Once on the carriage, iron dogs, sharp, heavy clamps, bit into the wood, holding it firmly for the saw's relentless advance. Every movement had to be precise. A poorly placed log could waste valuable lumber, or worse, jam the saw in mid-cut. Just as important as the carriage was the blade itself. A dull saw could turn a log into splinters, slow the work to a crawl, and even shatter under stress. For this reason, saw sharpening was a daily ritual in the life of a mill. The millwright or sawyer would remove the blade at regular intervals, setting it on a bench where each tooth was filed to the perfect angle. The rhythm of the file against steel was as much a part of the mill's soundtrack as the splash of water or the groan of timbers. Sharpening was not just maintenance, it was an art. The sawyer knew the timber, the grain, and the resistance of each species. Oak required a different edge than pine, and a winter log demanded a different bite than one cut in summer. With a keen blade and a steady carriage, the mill could hum once more, slicing through logs with the rhythm of progress, board after board, day after day. Sharpening was not just maintenance, it was an art. The sawyer knew the timber, the grain, and the resistance of each species. Oak required a different edge than pine, and a winter log demanded a different bite than one cut in summer. With a keen blade and a steady carriage, the mill could hum once more, slicing through logs with the rhythm of progress, board after board, day after day. In the mill we see here, the wheel is likely an overshot design, meaning water pours over the top, using gravity to add force. This style was more efficient than undershot wheels, which relied only on the speed of the stream. Every revolution of the wheel carries tremendous energy, and when connected to a saw, it transforms the unstoppable flow of water into precise cuts of timber. Imagine the noise inside the mill, the rhythmic clatter of wooden gears, the steady splash of water, the creak of timbers under strain, and the sharp bite of the saw blade through the grain of the log. It is mechanical music, played by nature and crafted by human hands. Once the log arrives at the mill, it is rolled onto the carriage, a moving platform that carries the log forward into the saw. In older times, this carriage was moved by hand, but in water-powered mills, the motion is often automated, connected by gears and ratchets to the turning wheel. With each pass of the saw blade, the log advances a set distance, shaving off a board with remarkable accuracy. Once the log arrives at the mill, it is rolled onto the carriage, a moving platform that carries the log forward into the saw. In older times, this carriage was moved by hand, but in water-powered mills, the motion is often automated, connected by gears and ratchets to the turning wheel. With each pass of the saw blade, the log advances a set distance, shaving off a board with remarkable accuracy. As boards are cut, workers remove them by hand, stacking them carefully to dry. Every piece of lumber is valuable. Nothing is wasted. Bark and offcuts become fuel. Sawdust can be used for animal bedding, and even small scraps find their way into stoves or barns. Efficiency was not just a virtue, it was a necessity. Looking closely at the mill's construction, we can appreciate the cleverness of its builders. The gears and shafts were often made of wood, carefully carved to mesh smoothly. Iron parts were reserved for high stress points, but the majority of the machine was timber, self-repairing in a sense, as the millwright could fashion replacement parts from the very material it was built to process. Looking closely at the mill's construction, we can appreciate the cleverness of its builders. The gears and shafts were often made of wood, carefully carved to mesh smoothly. Iron parts were reserved for high stress points, but the majority of the machine was timber, self-repairing in a sense, as the millwright could fashion replacement parts from the very material it was built to process. A water-powered sawmill was not just an industrial site. It was part of the social fabric of the community. Farmers might wait at the mill, swapping stories as their logs were cut. Children would watch the wheel turning with wide eyes, fascinated by the seemingly magical power of water transformed into motion. For mill workers, the job required skill and endurance. Handling logs, aligning them on the carriage, and monitoring the saw demanded constant attention. Mistakes could ruin valuable timber, or worse, cause dangerous accidents. Yet despite the risks, the mill provided steady work and a sense of pride. Each board that left the mill carried with it the mark of craftsmanship and the knowledge that it would serve a purpose in a home, a barn, or a workshop. By the late 1960s, water-powered mills were already a rarity. The spread of cheap electricity, diesel engines, and modern machinery made them less competitive. Yet some persisted, often in remote areas or preserved as heritage sites. By the late 1960s, water-powered mills were already a rarity. The spread of cheap electricity, diesel engines, and modern machinery made them less competitive. Yet some persisted, often in remote areas, or preserved as heritage sites. Watching this water-powered sawmill in operation reminds us of a time when engineering was both simple and profound. It was an age when rivers powered progress, and when every board carried the story of handcraft and tradition. As we move next to explore the Drenna sawmills, we will see how technology transformed the industry, faster, stronger, and more precise, yet built upon the foundations laid by these humble water wheels. Stay with us, as history flows from past to present in the story of timber. As we move forward in this series, we will compare this traditional water-powered sawmill with the modern industrial sawmills of places like Drenna. There, machines do the heavy lifting, conveyors move logs automatically, and computers ensure precision. But before we move on, it is important to pause and reflect. What you have seen here is not merely an old machine, but a philosophy of working with nature, of building with local resources, and of creating communities around the flow of rivers. From the steady rhythm of a water-powered blade in 1968, we now move into a very different world. A world where horsepower is measured in engines, where trucks replace river rafts, and where precision machines can cut more timber in a single day than an old sawmill could manage in weeks. This is the story of Drenna Sawmills, a place where tradition meets modern innovation, deep in the historic landscapes of Northern Ireland. The Drenna estate, with its rolling woodlands and centuries of history, is not only a landmark of culture, but also a working forest. For generations, these lands provided timber that built homes, furniture, and tools. But unlike the small, water-driven mill of the past, Drenna embraced the changes of the 20th century. By the late 1900s, the estate's sawmills had become a hub of modern forestry, where heavy machinery, careful planning, and new technologies transformed the way timber was harvested and processed. The story begins deep in the woods. Here, towering trees stand as both guardians of the land and raw material for industry. But harvesting them is no longer the work of axes and teams of horses. Instead, chainsaws roar to life, felling trees with speed and accuracy. Skilled operators measure, cut, and prepare each trunk for transport, ensuring that every piece of timber is used wisely. Once felled, the logs are loaded by mechanical loaders onto trucks, powerful machines that can carry tons of wood at a time. Roads, once muddy paths navigated by oxen or carts, are now paved or well-graded, allowing fleets of lorries to carry timber directly to the sawmill yard. What once required days of labor and river transport can now be achieved in hours. At the Drenny sawmill's yard, the contrast with the old water-powered mill becomes even clearer. Instead of a trickling stream and wooden gears, we see wide loading bays, cranes, and mechanized log decks. Trucks pull in, releasing their loads with hydraulic precision. Massive stacks of logs, neatly arranged by species and size, await processing. Here, efficiency is the key. Workers no longer rely on the pace of a river or the swing of a water wheel. The flow of production is controlled by engines, conveyors, and saws that run as long as there is fuel and electricity. The yard hums with the sound of machinery, a steady chorus of progress. If the water-powered sawmill represented a community effort, Drenny Sawmills represents industrial scale. A single modern saw here can cut in minutes what once took hours. Circular saws spin at thousands of revolutions per minute, slicing through hardwood and softwood alike. Conveyors move logs seamlessly from one stage to the next, reducing the need for heavy manual handling. Yet, despite the speed, precision is never sacrificed. Modern sawmills are designed to maximize yield, to ensure that every inch of timber provides value. Where the old mill might waste offcuts, modern technology turns them into chips, mulch, or pulp for paper. Efficiency is no longer just about speed, it is about using every part of the tree. As we stand in the Drenny sawmill yard, surrounded by towering piles of timber and the steady hum of machines, we see the beginning of a new chapter in woodworking. From careful felling in the forest, to transport by truck, to the organized staging of logs at the mill, every step has been designed for maximum productivity and safety. But the real story lies beyond the yard, inside the mill itself, where cutting-edge technology transforms raw logs into precise boards and beams, destined for use across industries and households. So let us step inside Drenny sawmills and witness the heart of modern lumber production, a place where history's oldest craft meets the machinery of tomorrow. Stepping inside Drenny sawmills is like stepping into the very heartbeat of modern forestry. Here, the timeless tradition of turning raw logs into usable lumber continues. But now, the rhythm is no longer set by the turning of a water wheel. It is driven instead by the power of steel engines and automation. Let us walk through this process together, from the moment the logs enter the mill, to the moment finely cut boards leave its gates. One of the first steps in the modern mill is debarking, stripping the tree of its outer skin. In the old watermill days, bark often stayed on, producing rough boards that needed more manual finishing later. But at Drenny, rotary debarkers spin the logs against sharp steel teeth, peeling away the bark with efficiency. This process ensures cleaner cuts, protects the saws from dulling, and provides bark that can be repurposed as mulch or fuel. Nothing is wasted. Even the byproducts find use, reflecting a shift towards sustainability long before it became a buzzword. Once stripped, the logs enter the main saw line. Here lies the core of modern milling, the high-speed circular saws and bandsaws that slice through timber with astonishing precision. The first cuts square the log, transforming the round trunk into a manageable cant, or block. From there, saws divided into boards of various dimensions. Unlike the steady up and down motion of the water-powered sash saw, these blades spin continuously, their whirring song filling the mill. At Drenna, multiple saws are set in line, allowing for several cuts in a single pass. What once took several minutes for one board can now be achieved in seconds. Operators watch carefully, adjusting settings to match the size, species, and quality of each log. But speed alone is not the triumph of Drenna sawmills. It is precision. Logs are scanned and measured before cutting. Advanced equipment determines the best way to slice each piece, maximizing usable lumber while minimizing waste. Boards are then automatically sorted and graded. Machines and trained eyes work together, evaluating each board for straightness, knots, and consistency. Higher grades are reserved for furniture or construction, while lower grades find their way into pallets, packaging, or other industries. This process represents a huge departure from the 1968 watermill, where grading was often done entirely by hand, and the cut was dictated by the miller's judgment. Here, technology aids the human decision, ensuring efficiency without losing craftsmanship. One of the greatest contrasts between the water-powered sawmill of 1968 and the modern Drenna mill is safety. In the past, men worked close to moving blades, hauling logs by hand, exposed to splinters, slips, and accidents. At Drenna, guards, sensors, and automated systems reduce risks. Workers still face challenges: noise, dust, heavy machinery, but their role is more about supervision than brute labor. This shift has transformed the industry. Where once a lifetime of work at a sawmill could take a toll on the body, today's operators can manage machines with a fraction of the physical strain. Let us follow one log through the entire mill. 1. Unloading and stacking. The log arrives from the forest, measured and stored. 2. Debarking. The outer layer is stripped away. 3. Primary sawing. The log is squared into a cant. 4. Secondary sawing. The cant is sliced into boards. 5. Edging and trimming. Rough edges are removed. Boards are brought to standard sizes. 6. Grading and sorting. Boards are inspected, sorted by quality and purpose. 7. Byproduct collection. Sawdust and chips are removed for reuse. 8. Stacking and drying. Lumber is prepared for seasoning or kiln drying. 9. Shipping finished boards are loaded and sent to their destinations. This seamless flow is a marvel of organization, where every stage is connected, every piece accounted for. Inside Drenna, The sounds are very different from the steady thump of the old sash saw. Here, the air vibrates with the whir of motors, the roar of blades, the rattle of conveyors. It is a constant chorus of industry, punctuated by the hiss of hydraulics and the hum of electric systems. And yet, amid the noise, there remains something familiar. The scent of fresh-cut wood. Whether in 1968 or today, the fragrance of pine, oak, or spruce fills the air, grounding the modern mill in the timeless essence of its craft. What makes Draenau special is not just its machinery, but its balance of tradition and progress. The estate has stood for centuries, its woodlands managed carefully across generations. Harvesting is planned with sustainability in mind, ensuring that forests remain healthy for the future. The sawmill is not a relic, nor a faceless factory. It is the continuation of a story that began with water wheels and hand saws, now written in steel and electricity. Every board produced here is part of a heritage that stretches back hundreds of years. Looking back to the water-powered sawmill of 1968, the contrast is striking. Power source: water versus diesel and electricity. Speed: minutes for one board versus seconds for many. Labor: manual positioning versus mechanized conveyors. Waste: sawdust as byproduct versus sawdust as resource. Safety: workers close to blades versus workers managing machines. And yet, the purpose is unchanged: to take the raw gift of the forest and transform it into something useful, something lasting. The heart of the trade remains, even as the tools evolve. As we conclude our visit to Draenau sawmills, we are reminded that the story of wood is the story of humanity itself. From water-powered mills in quiet valleys, to roaring factories of the industrial age, to the efficient, sustainable operations of today, the journey has always been about shaping the natural world into the framework of our lives. The boards that leave this mill may become the floors of a home, the beams of a barn, or the frame of a table. They carry within them not only the strength of the tree, but also the legacy of centuries of craftsmanship. And so, from the turning of a water wheel in 1968 to the modern hum of Draenau's machines, we see a single continuous thread: the partnership of man, machine, and nature, working together to build the world around us. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history and progress. From past to present, the sawmill remains a symbol of ingenuity, resilience, and tradition. Stay tuned for more stories of wood, machines, and industry here on Mr. T Machinery.